So let's start with the discussion of the poem. Yesterday we discussed about the idea or the theme that is conveyed to us through this poem, and we see that the word road is the symbol of the choice made by us in life. Many times we regret the choice we make, but what is done once cannot be undone. Man regrets for what he has denied himself in life rather than what he has chosen. कि जो हम चूज कर लेते हैं चीज, कई बार हम उसको बाद में चेंज करना चाहते हैं, but we cannot go back. We cannot undone that thing. So we have to go accordingly. That means whatever the choice we have made, we have to accept the result and the consequences of that. We should not cry and lament on our choices that we have made, but we should accept that the result or the consequences, what has happened with that choice, and then try to make the next choice accordingly. Clear? This is another idea that has been given through this poem. Then we discussed about the symbolic words used in the poem. The word road not only means way, it also means journey or stage of journey. So here road does not signify any ordinary road, but it functions as a metaphor of a vital decision in our life. Very important decision that we take in our life. Road is a metaphor used for that. Then the poet says that the path that we don't choose in our life is the road not taken. जो सड़क या जो रास्ता जो हमें नहीं choose करा, जो हमारी choice में हमने छोड़ दिया option, that is the road not taken. He describes his feelings about that choice that he had left in the past. The path which we have chosen decides our future or destination. कि जो भी हम रास्ता choose करते हैं, वो हमारी चॉइस को बताता है और हमारा उस फ्यूचर में उस चॉइस का क्या इफेक्ट होता है, दैट इज डिपेंडेंट अपॉन दैट. So the important message that the poet wants to give is that the choice that we make has an impact on our future. And if we make wrong choice, that means we regret for it but cannot go back on it. So we must be wise while making the choices. कि कई बार हम गलत choice भी कर लेते हैं. We think that it would be right for us, but at the end, when we get some bad result, some very not good things, we get the consequences, then we regret for that, but we cannot come back. And we have to accept those consequences, those results, and continue with that. Now, we have already discussed about the summary of the poem also. The poem talks about the choices one has to make in life and their consequences. One day while walking in a wooded area of trees, or you can say in the forest, the poet gets two ways, a fork, a separated diverged road he got, and in that way what happened, he was not able to make the choice. He has to contemplate, he has to think over about that. And so he starts debating over the choices. So he started thinking, अपने मन ही मन में एक debate उसके शुरू हो जाती है, which way to choose. As he realizes he cannot walk on both because one person cannot walk on both roads. So he has to decide. However, he decides to take the second path with the intention of traveling on the first some other time in future. We have discussed this thing also, that he took the second path thinking that the first path he would take some time again in the future. Now coming to the lines of the poem, please be particular. First listen the explanation of the poem carefully. Then note down one thing that you have to do and find out the literary devices or the poetic devices used in the poem also, which you were not doing up to 8th standard. 8 तक आप नहीं करते थे, लेकिन अब आपके पास नई चीज आएगी कि आपको पोएम में ये भी ढूंढना है कि which poetic devices the poet has used to enhance the beauty of the poem or to enhance the rhyme scheme of the poem or to enhance the rhythm of the poem. So we will discuss it at the end. First, try to understand the poem, the meaning, and the explanation of the words. Today, I'll send you one explanation of different terms used in the poetic devices. You must understand the definitions of those and try to find out from the poem that. Okay. Now, listen to the lines. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry, I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. The poet was going in a forest and he saw suddenly there were two roads. कई बार होता है ना, हम एक रास्ते पर जा रहे हैं और आगे जाकर वो रास्ता जो है दो सड़कों में डिवाइड हो जाता है. The same happened with the poet. One day he was going in the forest area and he saw that suddenly that passage was divided into two ways. Two roads diverged means separated in a yellow wood. Yellow wood means the forest in the autumn season. Autumn season में जब लीव्स और प्लांट्स जो हैं वो येलो कलर में हो जाते हैं, नए फ्लावर्स, नए चीज़ें जो है, फूल पत्ते निकलने शुरू हो जाते हैं ऑटम सीजन. ऑटम में गिरते हैं, येलो हो जाते हैं और उसके बाद गिरना शुरू हो जाते हैं. दैट इज स्प्रिंग सीजन व्हेन दे ब्लूम एंड कम. So it was yellow wood. That means the forest was having yellow leaves. That means in the autumn season, once the poet was going, and he reached to a passage, a way where the roads were diverged into separate ways. It was diverged into two parts. And sorry, I could not travel both. एंड ही वॉज इन डायलमा. डायलमा क्या होता है? सिचुएशन कि वो क्या करे, ये करे या वो करे. दो ऑप्शंस आ जाते हैं आपके माइंड में, हम क्या करें, ऐसे करें या ऐसे करें. तो दैट इज द डायलमा सिचुएशन. The poet was in dilemma and he was feeling sorry because he could not travel both and be one traveler, because he was the only one person and one person can walk on one path, on one road. He could not travel on both. So he was sorry for that. वो दोनों रास्तों पर तो चल नहीं सकता. So he was feeling sad because he was the only one person and one cannot be at two places at the same time. Same time पे एक आदमी दो जगह नहीं हो सकता ना. So he could travel only one road. So he was feeling very sad. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could. And he stood there for a long time. Long I stood means I refers to here the poet Robert Frost. He said he stood there for a long time. He kept on thinking, contemplating on which way he should go, on which road he should go, which road he should follow, and looked down one as far as I could. And he kept on looking at a long distance where till where his vision was able to go. जहां तक भी मतलब उसकी नजर जा सकती थी, उसने दूर दूर तक देखा कि वो सड़क कहाँ पर जा रही थी. देयर वॉज नथिंग विजिबल. जब आप बहुत दूर से देखते हैं तो आपको जितनी विजिबिलिटी है उतना दिखाई देता है, उसके आगे पता ही नहीं चलता कि वो रोड कहाँ जा रही है. टू वेयर इट बेंट इन द अंडर ग्रोथ एंड he was trying to find out where that road was going, where that road was going to an end, having an end in the undergrowth. Undergrowth means in the wild bushes. जंगल के अंदर जो अंडरग्रोथ थी, साइड्स पे बुशेस, झाड़ियां वगैरह होती हैं, वो क्या देख रहा था कि वो सड़क कहाँ पर जाकर खत्म होती है. He tried to look at both the roads at a long distance till his vision was going. So, in the first stanza, what we are told about the dilemma of the poet. He was full of dilemma. He was not able to understand, he was not able to take the decision what he should do, which road he should follow. So, he was standing in the yellow wood, in the forest, in the autumn season, where the road was separated into two parts, and he was feeling sorry and sad because he could not travel on both the roads. Being one person, one traveler, he has to choose one road. He kept on thinking for a long time, standing there, looking as far as he could see where that road leads to, but he could not find the way out, could not find the end of that road, where that road was moving and going in the undergrowth, in the bushes. He was not able to find out the end of that road. So he was thinking what to do, which road to follow. Coming to the next stanza. Then took the other just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear, though as for that the passing there had warned them really about the same. Then took the other. What he thought? First he thought to go on the one road, then he thought to take the other road. क्या सोचता है? पहले सोचता है एक सड़क पर जाए, फिर सोचता है दूसरी सड़क पर जाए. क्यों उसका माइंड चेंज हो गया? देन टुक द अदर, दूसरी उसने क्यों रोड लेनी चाहिए? एज जस्ट एज फेयर, because he felt that road was having fair path, clean path, साफ रास्ता था उसका. There was no dirt, no footsteps, and having perhaps the better claim, and he thought that this road will give him better promise. Claim here, promise, better result. That if he took that other road, first road उसने छोड़ दी, ऑटोमेटिकली वो सेकेंड रोड पे आ जाता है सोचते हुए माइंड में, because he thought that this road was as fair as he wanted, and it was because it gave him perhaps the better claim. Better claim means better promise, better result, better consequences. He thought like that. It was all his own thinking and contemplations. बिकॉज इट वॉज ग्रासी एंड वॉन्टेड वेयर. क्या रीजन उसके माइंड में आता है कि ये फेयर है, ये बेटर क्लेम देगी रोड उसको? क्योंकि उसको क्या लग रहा था कि इट वॉज ग्रासी, दैट रोड वॉज फुल ऑफ ग्रास. एंड वॉन्टेड वियर, वॉन्टेड वियर मीन्स इट वॉज लेस यूज्ड, कम यूज करी गई थी पैरों के निशान से, या ग्रास की फ्रेशनेस को देखकर उसको लग रहा था कि इसके ऊपर बहुत कम लोग चले होंगे. वांटेड वियर, वांट होता है ना किसी चीज की कमी होना, तो हियर इट इज यूज्ड इन दैट फॉर्म. लेस वियर, वियर होता है अदरवाइज तो हम क्या यूज करते हैं? वियर मीन्स टू पुट ऑन क्लॉथ्स, कपड़े पहनने. सो हियर इट इज वॉक्ड अपॉन, that means trodden. This road was not trodden by many people. बहुत से लोग इस सड़क के ऊपर नहीं चले थे, इसलिए वो कैसी थी? ग्रासी थी. उसका ग्रास जो था, घास जो था उसके ऊपर, वो फ्रेश था. ऐसे नहीं लग रहा था कि वो पैरों के नीचे कुचला गया हो, या उसके ऊपर अगर लोग चले हों तो वो घास खराब हो गया हो, ऐसा नहीं था. सो ही थॉट दैट दिस रोड वॉज नॉट ट्रेवल्ड बाय मेनी पीपल. It was less used by the people because it was grassy. So he thought to take the second road, which he considered as fair and giving better promises and better opportunities, better results, better consequences. Though, as for that, the passing there, though, as for that, the passing there had warned them really about the same. फिर उसको क्या लगता है कि दो, देखता है कि चाहे कि वो रोड ग्रासी लग रही थी, दो एज फॉर दैट, जबकि उस रोड के बारे में उसने जब सोचा, द पासिंग देयर, दैट मीन्स द पासर्स बाय, दोज हु हैड वॉक्ड ऑन दैट रोड, हैड वॉर्न देम रियली अबाउट द सेम. क्या सोचता है कि एक बार फिर उसको लगा कि ये रोड सेम है, जैसे पहली थी वैसी ही है. हैड वॉर्न देम रियली अबाउट द सेम. और बहुत से लोग शायद उस रोड के ऊपर भी चले थे. अगेन द आइडिया केम इन हिज माइंड. जब वो फिर से ध्यान से देखता है तो ही थॉट दैट मेनी पीपल हैड ऑलरेडी पास्ड ऑन दैट रोड. पहले उसको क्या लग रहा था कि रोड ग्रासी थी, उसके ऊपर बहुत कम लोग चले थे. इट वॉज नॉट यूज्ड more by the people, it was less used by the people. But suddenly he realized that it was the same road. In that road also many footprints were there, or he saw many people had passed that road. It had warned them really about the same. और उसको क्या लगा कि ये भी वैसी ही चली हुई रोड है. वॉर्न है मतलब उसके ऊपर भी लोग बहुत से चले हुए हैं, पैरों के निशान जो हैं उसके ऊपर भी बहुत से नजर आए. देन अगेन ही वॉज नॉट एबल टू डिसाइड. पहले क्या सोचता है कि एक रोड से देखता है उसको छोड़ देता है, दूसरी रोड उसको अच्छी लगती है, बेटर क्लेम देती है उसको, बेटर प्रॉमिस देती है. He thought he would get better results because he thought that many people had not walked on that road. It was grassy. But when he realized once again in his mind he thought that that road had also won, that road had also passed by many people had really walked on that road. उसको देखने में ऐसा लग रहा था ग्रासी थी, लेकिन फिर से जब वो अच्छे से सोचता है, रियलाइज करता है, तो उस सड़क के ऊपर भी उसने नोट किया कि बहुत से लोग जो थे वो चले हुए थे. दैट मीन्स इट वाज आल्सो traveled by or passed by many people. Coming to the next stanza. And both that morning equally lay in leaves, no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. What happened once he had decided, and he thought the first road was also not good for him. He went for the second road. We have read in the second stanza that he was thinking it giving better claim, better promises, better results because it was grassy and less used by the people. Then in the last two lines, he thought that it was also passed by the people and many people had traveled or walked on that road. So it was equally trodden or walked upon as the first one. What happened in the third stanza? One morning he came there. After this decision on that particular morning, what he thought, and both that morning, उस morning में जबकि वो वहां खड़ा था और डायलमा था में था, डिसीजन नहीं ले पा रहा था which road he should go, he thought both that morning equally lay, कि वो दोनों ही सड़कें उस मॉर्निंग में इक्वल थी, एक जैसी लग रही थी, उसको कोई फर्क नहीं लग रहा था. इन लीव्स नो स्टेप हैड ट्रॉडन बैक. व्हेन ही लुक्ड एट द लीव्स दैट वर ऑन दैट रोड, उस सड़क के ऊपर जो लीव्स गिरी हुई थी, पत्ते गिरे हुए थे प्लांट्स के, जब वो उन पत्तों को देख रहा था, नो स्टेप हैड ट्रॉडन बैक, तो उसको क्या लग रहा था, as the no footstep had trodden and walked upon that road and the leaves were not black. मतलब उन पत्तों के ऊपर किसी ने पैर नहीं रखे थे जिस वजह से वो पत्ते जो थे वो ब्लैक नहीं हुए थे. No step had trodden black means no step had walked upon that road and the leaves that were on that road were not black. उसको वो ब्लैक नहीं लग रही थी, मतलब ऐसे लग रहा था कि उस सड़क के ऊपर कोई भी, दोनों सड़कें ऐसे लग रही थी कि दोनों के ऊपर कोई भी नहीं चला, दोनों के ऊपर लीव्स थे और लीव्स जो थे वो ब्लैक नहीं थे. ओह, I kept the first for another day. Then he got surprised on his decision why he thought to go for the second road, and he was surprised on this. Oh, see, the sign of exclamation is given at the end of the sentence. So it shows that he was very much surprised to think over this thing. He was thinking of his own decision. He said, oh, I kept the first for another day, that I left the first road and thought that I would walk upon that road on some other day, yet knowing how way leads to way. When I know this thing, underline this line, which is very important and giving us another theme or the idea of the poem. He says, yet I know this thing, how way leads on to way, कि कैसे एक रास्ता जो है दूसरे रास्ते को आगे लीड करता है. उसको पता है, कहता है मुझे इस चीज की नॉलेज है, आई नो दिस थिंग, कि कैसे एक रास्ता जो है दूसरे रास्ते को लीड करता है. वन हाउ वन वे लीड्स टू अनदर वे. आई डाउटेड इफ आई शुड एवर कम बैक. So he was in doubt that he had decided to take the first road on some other day in the future, but he was in doubt whether he would be able to come back and walk upon that road which he had left for the future, because according to him it was not possible, because once we go forward we get the another way, we cannot come back. As I gave you the example yesterday, that if you choose any stream for your 11th class after 10th and you complete your 11th class, you complete your 12th class, then you regret for the decisions कि आपको ये stream नहीं लेनी चाहिए थी, दूसरी stream लेनी चाहिए थी, but you cannot start your 11th class again. You will change your decision, means you will find out the new way, क्योंकि आपका वो रास्ता जो आपने 12th तक करा है, मतलब जो भी स्ट्रीम आपने ली थी 12th तक, उसके अकॉर्डिंगली जो आगे रास्ता होगा, जो उसके लिए नए ऑप्शंस होंगे उस स्ट्रीम के अकॉर्डिंगली. सपोज आपने कॉमर्स के अकॉर्डिंगली कर लिया, यू वांट टू गो फॉर नॉन मेडिकल, तो कॉमर्स के आगे और कौन से रास्ते निकलेंगे, कौन से और नए वेज आपको मिलेंगे, यू विल टेक द डिसीजन अकॉर्डिंगली. You will not come back in 11th and start with the non-medical again. So this is the idea which is कि जब भी हम किसी भी रास्ते पर चलते हैं तो हमें आगे और नए रास्ते मिल जाते हैं. दैट मीन्स नई अपॉर्चुनिटीज, नए चांसेस मिल जाते हैं. वी नीड नॉट टू कम बैक. दिस इज द आइडिया द पोइट वांट्स टू कन्वे, एंड ही वांट्स टू suggest us, give us this idea that we should not lament and we should not cry for our decisions, what we have done, what we have made, because our way will lead to some new ways. कि जो भी रास्ता हमने लिया है, जो भी चॉइस हमने करी है, उस रास्ते पे चलते हुए अगर हम उसमें सक्सेसफुल नहीं होते, अच्छे रिजल्ट्स नहीं भी मिलते, इवन देन वी विल गेट सम न्यू वेज, वी विल गेट सम न्यू अपॉर्चुनिटीज आफ्टर दैट, कि उसके बाद भी हमें नए मौके मिलेंगे. तो वी शुड गो अकॉर्डिंगली. जो नए रास्ते आपको मिलेंगे उसमें से आप फिर से अच्छे से चूज करके अच्छा सा रास्ता चूज कर लो. जो आप लेमेंट कर रहे थे, जो आप पछता रहे थे, अब उस चीज को माइंड में रखते हुए फिर से अपना नया डिसीजन लो. So this is the idea which the poet wants to convey. He says he was surprised why he kept that road for the another day when he knew this thing, that or our way leads on to the way, कि जो भी हम रास्ता लेते हैं वो हमें और आगे कई रास्ते खोल देता है, हमारे लिए आगे कई और अपॉर्चुनिटीज वो प्रेजेंट करता है. And he could choose that. Why he would come back, and he was in doubt that he would not be able to come back and walk on that first road which he kept for his going in the future. Now, coming to the next and the last stanza of the poem, I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere, ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. See, now what he says at the last, or at the end of the poem, in the last stanza, what he tells us, he says, I shall be telling this with a sigh. I just want to tell you with a sigh. Please note down this sigh word is giving in double meaning. It may be deep breath, sigh of relief, जिसको हम कहते हैं सुख का सांस लिया, कि जब हम कोई काम कर रहे होते हैं, मुश्किल में होते हैं, हम उस काम से निकल आते हैं तो हम एक सुख का सांस लेते हैं, चलो शुक्र है खत्म हुआ, ठीक है. एंड द सेकेंड मीनिंग कैन बी साई, सैड एक्सप्रेशन, कि उसको दुख हुआ इस चीज का. So he is telling us at the end of the poem, he tells that he's telling this with a sigh. It is not clear and not explained in the poem whether the poet was happy or the poet was sad with his decision. This word is giving us double meaning. We cannot give the clear explanation whether he was sad or happy, but he tells us with a sigh, maybe having deep sigh of relief, or maybe feeling sad for that for his decision. He says somewhere ages and ages hence. Somewhere ages and ages means a long period of time. For a long period of time, he took this decision. बहुत साल पहले, बहुत लंबे समय पहले उसने ये decision लिया. And two roads diverged in a wood, when there were two roads separating in a wood, in a forest, and I took the one less traveled by. And according to his decision, he took the road which was less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. And he says that has made the difference in my life. Because when we take our decision, when we choose any path, and accordingly when we go and walk on that, that affects our life. That's why the poet says that he took the road which was less traveled by, जहाँ पर कम लोग चले थे, उसके अकॉर्डिंगली उस सड़क के ऊपर लोगों के पैर कम थे, पैरों के निशान कम थे, लीव्स जो थी वो ब्लैक नहीं हुई थी. So he started on that road. He thought that this is a less traveled road, and he went on that road, and according to him that has made the difference, कि इसी वजह से वो एक ग्रेट पर्सन बन गया, क्योंकि उसको लगा कि उसने एक ऐसी रोड ली जो कि लेस ट्रेवल थी. मतलब it was risky and dangerous. Why it was risky and dangerous? Because a path which was not chosen by many may give you challenges and difficulties and struggles in life. जिस रास्ते के ऊपर बहुत से लोग चल रहे होते हैं, वहां आपको कोई ना कोई साथ मिल जाता है, कोई ना कोई आपको रास्ता मिल जाता है, क्योंकि बहुत लोग चल रहे हैं, कोई ना कोई रास्ता तो वो निकालेंगे ही ना, मिलजुल कर आपस में आपको हेल्प मिल जाती है। लेकिन आप अगर ऐसा रास्ता या ऐसी सड़क या ऐसा पाथ चूज करते हो जहां पर कि बहुत कम लोग चल रहे हैं, तो यू हैव टू फाइंड योर वे आउट योर सेल्फ। तो आपको अपना रास्ता जो है वो खुद ढूंढना पड़ता है। तो इस वजह से क्या होता है, वो रोड जो है रिस्की होती है। दैट मीन्स यू आर वेरी एडवेंचरस, you are very courageous person, that's why you are taking that road which is less traveled, you are taking that path which is less traveled. So it shows the courage and the bravery and you can say the guts of the poet, that he took the less traveled road, and that's why he said it has made all the difference, that he has become a great poet, or he has become a great personality, great person of the world, and all people are reading about him, and all he was writing a great literature part and everything. So he thought that whatever he was in his life, it was only due to this choice that he has made, that has made the whole difference in his life. So what he wants to tell us, that we should judge our needs and interests and capabilities, and then choose the path that suits us the best. But we must be cautious and rational. Rational means reasonable thinking, properly अच्छे से हमें सोच कर, cautious होकर, बड़े alert होकर अपना decision जो है वो लेना है. But we should not lament on our decision, we should feel happy with our decision, because if we lose one opportunity, we may get another opportunity. As you have read in the previous stanza, the last second line, yet knowing how way leads on to way. इसका मतलब क्या है कि हमें आगे जिंदगी में और बहुत सी opportunities मिलेंगी, बहुत से मौके मिलेंगे. So we should not regret on our choices, what we have made. So according to me, we have discussed the whole poem, but I have not talked to you about the poetic devices used in the poem. We'll discuss when you will come to know about the definitions of all that. And today I'll send you one page or the PDF in which you will read all the definitions of the poetic devices. Then we'll discuss according. And after reading, you can find out yourself from the poem. Try to find out the poetic devices used in this poem. As I can give you one example. In the first stanza, look at the first stanza, the fourth line given here. First, we have already discussed the road is used as a metaphor here. ठीक है, metaphor क्या होता है? When it is compared, when the qualities or the characteristics of one thing is compared with the other. ठीक है, it is transferred, the qualities are transferred to the other thing. Then in the first stanza, fourth line, as far as I could, as far as I could, as far as यहाँ पर क्या यूज किया गया? It is used as a simile. Simile क्या होती है? When we compare two things and it starts with as or like. as or like से शुरू करके जब phrase दिया जाता है comparison के लिए, this is known as simile. Then you might have seen the word here in the second stanza, wanted wear. In the second stanza, third line, ending words, wanted wear. Both the words starts with W. Same sound is there. When we have the same sounding words, जिसमें कि आपकी starting word जो है, sound जो है वो same होती है two words की या more than two words की, this is called as alliteration. It is called as alliteration. जब आपकी words की sound जो है वो same होती है और सिमिलर अल्फाबेट के साथ वर्ड्स जो हैं आपके स्टार्ट हो रहते हैं, देन इट इज नोन एज alliteration. Clear? So in this way, there are many literary devices used in the poem. Before that, you can see the rhyme scheme if you know about it. Rhyme scheme, how we find the rhyme scheme of the poem? Anyone who knows? You can raise your hand if anyone knows about the rhyme scheme, how it is found. No hand raised. No, please listen. I'm telling you for one stanza, then you will do for the rest of the stanzas. आपने क्या देखना है? First stanza देखिए अपनी poem का. See the last word of the first stanza. Would, देन बोथ स्टूड कुड ग्रोथ। लास्ट वर्ड देखिए राइमिंग कहाँ आ रहे हैं, वुड स्टूड, एक जैसी राइमिंग है, वुड स्टूड, ठीक है। बोथ कुड वुड स्टूड कुड, ये दोनों तीनों वर्ड्स राइम हो गए, वुड स्टूड कुड, तो आप तीनों को क्या दोगे, ए, ठीक है। बोथ ग्रोथ, ये दोनों राइम हो रहे हैं, तो आपने इसको कैसे राइम स्कीम लिखनी है, फिर फर्स्ट लाइन में ए, सेकेंड लाइन बी, थर्ड लाइन अगेन ए, फोर्थ लाइन अगेन ए, फिफ्थ लाइन बी, ठीक है। आप क्या लिखोगे इसके साथ, ए बी ए बी। दिस इज द राइमिंग स्कीम ऑफ योर फर्स्ट स्टेंजा। क्लियर, इज इट क्लियर? ए बी ए बी, बिकॉज जहां जहां हम ए लिख रहे हैं देखिए वो वर्ड्स राइम कर रहे हैं, वुड स्टूड कुड, तीनों वर्ड्स राइम कर रहे हैं। देन सेकेंड लाइन एंड द लास्ट लाइन बोथ अंडर ग्रोथ, these are the rhyming words. So the rhyme scheme has this stanza has the rhyme scheme of a b a b. Clear? So in the same way you will find out the rhyme scheme of the rest of the stanzas and we will discuss it in the next meeting. By the time you must go through all the definitions of the poetic devices used in the poems by the poets, and you must understand about that definition. Then you will be able to find out from the lines of the poem yourself. And please try to analyze this poem. Try to find out, write with pencil wherever you find any poetic device according to those definitions. Okay, then we'll discuss about the